Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivardhari Yasodanam Ganna Braja Jana Rangana Yamuna Tira Vanajari Yamuna Tira Vanajari Jaya Radha Madhava Gunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Jaya Radha Gunja Bihari Radha Gunja Bihari Radha Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladevi Mai Subhadra Jaya Srinath Ki Jaya Bhagavatam Jaya Srinath Ki Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gaurani Jaya Jaya Gaurani Jaya Jaya Gaurani Jaya Jaya Gaurani Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Jaya Vishnupada, Paramahamsa Parivranikacharya, Astotara Satishi Shimar's divine grace, founder of ISKCON Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Granted Shrimadbhagavatam Ki Jai. Their most merciful Lordship Shri Radhakunja Bihari Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev Mai Subhadra Ki Jai. Shri Nataji, Shri Balagopal Ki Jai. Shri Chigonitai Ki Jai. Nitai Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the Lord's feet of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Someone just the other day was asking, where is this found? Grandfather Bhishma laying on the bed of arrows. And here we have chapter 9, Shrimadbhagavatam, the passing away of Bhishma Dev in the presence of Lord Krishna. Shrimadbhagavatam is revealing. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamidiraye Nasta prayashu bhadreshu Nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtaki. Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, Text 1 of the chapter entitled Passing Away of Bhishmadev in the Presence of Lord Krishna. Sutta Uvacha Sutta Uvacha Iti Vitya Praja Drohat Iti Vita Praja Drohat Sarva Dharma Vivitsaya Sarva Dharma Vivitsaya Tato Vinasanam Pragad Tato Vinashanam Pragad Yatra Deva Vrato Patat Yatra Deva Vrato Patat Sutavacha Iti Vita Prajadrohat Sarvadharma Vivitsaya Tato Vinasanam Pragad Yatra Deva Vrato Patat Sutavacha Iti Vita Prajadrohat Sarvadharma Vivitsaya Tato Vinasanam Pragad Yatra Deva Vrato Patat. Please chant. Sutavacha Iti Vita Prajadrohat Sarvadharma Vivitsaya Tato Vinasanam Pragad Yatra Deva Vrato Patat. Sutavacha. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Iti, thus, Vita, being afraid of, Prajadrohat, because of killing the subjects, Sarva, all, Dharma, acts of religion, Vivitsaya, for understanding, Tata, thereafter, Vinashanam, the place where the fight was held, Pragat, he went, Yatra, where, Devavrata, Bhishmadev, Apartat, lay down for passing away. Sutavacha Yati Vita Prajadrohat Sarvadharma Vivitsaya Tato Vinashanam Pragad Yatra Deva Vratopatat. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhisthira went to the scene of the massacre. There, Bhishmadev was lying on a bed of arrows, about to pass away. Please repeat. Srila Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhisthira went to the scene of the massacre. There, Bhishmadev was lying on a bed of arrows, about to pass away. Srila Goswami said, being afraid for having killed so many subjects on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Maharaj Yudhisthira went to the scene of the massacre. There, Bhishmadev was lying on a bed of arrows, about to pass away. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In this 9th chapter, as it is willed by Lord Sri Krishna, Bhishmadev will impart instructions to King Yudhisthira on the subject of occupational duties. Bhishmadev will also offer his last prayer to the Lord on the verge of passing away from this mortal world and thus become liberated from the bondage of further material engagements. Bhishmadev was endowed with the power of leaving his material body at will, and his lying down on the bed of arrows was his own choice. This passing away of the great warrior attracted the attention of all the contemporary elites, and all of them assembled there to show their feelings of love, respect, and affection for the great soul. Om Jnana-Tamarandasya Granjana Shalakaya Chakshusam Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Anyone that reads Mahabharata, and then too, even up to here now in Bhagavatam, you come to develop an appreciation for Grandfather Bhishma's relationship with Krishna as unique as it was. And of course, Mahabharata gives a closer glimpse into the beginning of his life and how he sacrificed his own what would be considered his responsibility in life to raise a family and like that for the sake of his father. But just as I was saying the other day, once again brought to our attention is almost in every verse too, we're being made aware of how Krishna is the controller of birth, death, old age, and disease. All these things are in his hands. And Grandfather Bhishma, knowing that, is waiting for the perfect moment. And he's going to recite prayers to Lord Krishna that will be for us an example of one very elevated soul as Grandfather Bhishma is. So, in each of these, see, on the one hand, we're seeing him in an enemy's army who has been fighting against Krishna, and yet here he is praying to Krishna. So this also brings out the fact that they knew they were engaged in a stage play, more or less, manifesting from those who are taking part in those kinds of stage plays in the spiritual world, where there is no death, but they're simply playing out activities that Krishna took part in. And so they imitate these activities which keeps them involved in Krishna Katha and Krishna consciousness, thoughts about Krishna. And this is what Grandfather Bhishma, his ultimate aim in bringing so much storming arrows upon Arjuna, was to bring Krishna to that point where he would even break his promise in order to save his devotee, Arjuna. But we see as well I was speaking yesterday, or the other day too, that Krishna, it appeared, made the sun stop. Because at the point where everybody had thought the sun had already set, Krishna was blocking the view of it. And then when he moved, everybody saw the sun, and then Krishna says to Arjuna, "Shoot now!" And so he did, and he really let out his entire fleet of artillery, you might say, his weaponry. Now these weapons, the weapons, the conch shells, all these are given names. Because in the spiritual world where they're coming from, where they are acting out these same forms, these are actual living beings that are taking part as well in these activities. And they are elevated spiritual souls that have become elevated to the point of their gaining direct association with Krishna. I feel like I'm committing offense here. You got my back right to the Krishna, right to the G. Not supposed to sit like this, actually. Krishna. I'm going to move this up. Yes, it's not, because it never should be. We shouldn't be turning our back on Krishna. It's not a good sign. That's fine. We offer obeisances. Might seem like an interruption, but it's a good example of etiquettes towards private acting in the temple. Now, the relationship here is different from that same loving relationship. It's a loving relationship with Krishna, but it's at a different level than the gopis were. So just like the conch shell, the flute, they're in a position of neutrality. Right now, this bench was made of a tree. The tree, the soul from which this wood was taken, being in a position of neutrality because it didn't put itself here. It got here without its own will, but by Krishna's mercy now it is serving human purpose. And then with the speed, now it's in Krishna's own temple, serving the purpose of being able to have Shrimadbhagavatam spoken. So practically speaking, you say this tree is getting as much benefit as I would by that. Even though it's in a position of neutrality, even though it's left its body, this is the mercy of God, and this is how souls make progress in their manifestation of life on this planet. So everything's connected. And this is how every form of life can gradually come to the point of human being where we can come to the realization of the supreme purpose of all of our lives. I came to the realization yesterday, Lord Brahma has 4 heads, okay? And we see Lord Brahma manifesting in the form of Haridas Thakur with Lord Chaitanya. In doing that, he reveals to us that he spends no time for anything else but chanting Krishna's names. So we can take from this that in his form, in the center of the universe, where he's situated, having 4 heads, his other heads are doing the same thing. Well, we're getting 1 chapter out from Lord Chaitanya's founding. He knows where they all are. These things will be revealed in the future. But Lord Chaitanya reveals this chapter of Brahma Samhita, and it taking such an important part. Srila Prabhupada says, in a devotee's consciousness, that he would hope that his disciples would take the reading of this Brahma Samhita as a regular daily function. And now, if you do, not only is it something you can read and study and get a realization of, but the sound vibration of singing it is something that brings to the soul a realization of what kind of an environment Lord Brahma is creating with his mind, with this glorification of Krishna. And of course, that's what we get. Srila Prabhupada has incorporated into this morning program, when we greet the deities at 7:30, then this is the song that is being sung, Govindam Adi Purusham. This is Lord Brahma's own prayer to Krishna. So the very most elevated soul in the entire universe, Lord Brahma, his very words that come from one of the most pure hearts in the universe, because in the form of Harinam, Haridas Thakur, Namacharya, he is revealing what one who is of a pure heart will find the ability to do in Krishna consciousness, because it's not of an ordinary ability that one can have to be able to sit in one place and chant all day long. Even one day, you will find after 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours. But Srila Prabhupada's disciples and he were given the understanding by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, that 64 rounds, which takes about 8 hours, and I know for me it would take 9 or 10, maybe more, I don't know, was the standard of human being. So in his mind, to become a human being, then we have to be chanting 64 rounds a day. Now, from a material perspective, one who is working full-time is said to be working 8 hours a day, right? So that's not full-time work. So if you're on part-time, then you're working something short of that, like 30 hours a day. So we're chanting 16 rounds a day, so we're part-time human beings. We're getting to the edge. But see, it is that development of love for Krishna, and each of us having that unique relationship, which also is being revealed here, because that relationship Lord Bhishmadev had on the battlefield, even though he was in the place of what we would consider an enemy. So was Krishna's captain, so was Krishna's whole army on that battlefield fighting against him by choice given to Duryodhana. So it's very easy for us to fall into the idea put in our minds and the consciousness created in the world as enemies and friends, as being in completely separate positions. But with Krishna, he takes as much pleasure in seeing one who has the expertise of perfection to even have come to the stage of being able to personally face him face to face. What to speak, he had the desire from the spiritual world to be able to fight with someone of his own capacity. And so these battles he was taking part in individually, on each of the battles he took part in, even before this battle of Kurukshetra took place, was for him a pastime, that he was taking pleasure in. So Srila Prabhupada gives us understanding over and again, the same way the relationships with the gopis that Krishna is having cannot be looked at from the same position we would look at as the kind of relationships people are having here in the material world. they're coming from. Sometimes they're coming from the heavenly planets, being born of demigods. And sometimes they're coming straight out, in the case of the gopis, they're coming straight out of the spiritual world. So the means of opening up our consciousness then, when Srila Prabhupada warns that we can't look at them as mundane, then we have to realize we do have to have a spiritual, a spiritual viewpoint of looking at all the scriptures. And that is what is meant by Krishna consciousness. Because Krishna reveals his own mind. He reveals his own thoughts about how he felt towards the war itself when he went to the Kauravas and pleaded with them not to go to war, but to allow the Pandavas to fulfill their responsible positions as leaders and governors. But they refused. We will not give you even the amount of land you can put on the head of a pin. What was spoken by Duryodhana, I believe it was Duryodhana. So, but it brought into in effect, what was preordained. And Krishna knew it was coming. When he went and pleaded with them, it didn't mean that he didn't know. It just meant that he would reveal through the future revelation of the battle of Kurukshetra, the nature of the people in the acts that were taking place in this whole setup of the war. So those that were envious of Krishna, they got a certain result with their life. Those that loved Krishna and were close to Krishna, like Arjuna, they get filled with knowledge of Krishna and the secret key to leaving the body. Krishna gave Arjuna. In the words he said, Arjuna, when you leave your body, think of me as playing the flute. Which, see, as friends, Krishna would have played the flute. He would have been playing it many times throughout his life, right? We have account of what it did to the gopis. But just like any musician, what to speak of God, he can play the flute to the audience he wants to appeal to. So when he plays his song in the evening time, he's appealing to a certain audience. And he knows how to attract the minds by being himself Cupid. People pray before they get married. People pray, dear God, please give me a suitable husband, a suitable wife, right? That I can have suitable children to come into the world and make this a better world to live in. But that person they're praying to, before they get married, for the suitable mate, that person is Krishna. And he takes that form in the minds of the gopis. They don't know they're praying. When they're praying to Kamadev, Cupid, they don't know they're praying to Krishna. And they're asking him to marry them. All of these gopis, even when he's 6 years old, 7 years old, he's already fulfilled so many activities that are so glorious and beyond the abilities of any human being. They are so attracted, they want to marry him. They all want to marry him. And likewise, even in the male forms, men that look at Krishna, immediately they see the perfection of what they would want to be, no matter what profession they were in. And, this is reminding me of what happens to a devotee. It is described who surrenders to Krishna, whatever practice he was in before coming to Krishna, surrendering to Krishna, he then becomes perfect in. Now, by this statement, let's look at Srila Prabhupada's contribution to the world, right? At a younger age, before surrendering to his spiritual master and finding out the relationship he would have with his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he took the profession of pharmacist. And at the time, a pharmacist was like a city aid to people that got sick. They could go to pharmacists for natural remedies and things, and he would have a mind to be able to cure a lot of little problems that families go through with their children and everything like that. So, Srila Prabhupada being a pharmacist now, he surrenders. Now, a pharmacist fills out prescriptions, right? He knows how to read the language, and he knows how to write and read the prescriptions that are given. So Lord Chaitanya came along with a prescription for all of humanity. And now, Srila Prabhupada is giving that prescription to the world. So this, that he was, as a pharmacist now, giving a material benefit for the benefit of the physical body, now, in the form of Srila Prabhupada that he took by instructions of his spiritual master, he has become a physician to the souls of all those who would take to this chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Because this is the prescription for this age, for all people, through the entire age. It will only last for 10,000 years, but we're only at the beginning of the advanced stages of what is going to become, by the fulfillment of the prophecies of the most wise sages of old, that this golden age will carry with it in the hearts of the believers, of those who follow the precepts of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They will gain all knowledge. Knowledge and love of God will cover the earth like the waters cover the seas. This cancer, all this disease, all this stuff will be wiped away when Krishna's precepts are put into the lives, each of us. And Srila Prabhupada gave this morning program and a worship of the deities and this Sankirtan chanting and this reading of the books as a means for our minds to be completely free from all the dangers and stresses and anxieties of the material world. And he made a house in every temple that people surrendering to Krishna could come and take full part in Krishna consciousness. Full time. Full time. And that is what this Sankirtan movement is meant to do. And the power of the chanting, which we limit in our minds, because we also look at this Sankirtan chanting on the streets in a mundane way, thinking that, oh, these are lower, younger kids that don't know what they're doing. They don't have anything to do. They don't have a job. They're jobless. They're homeless, looking for something good. But in effect, Shikshastikam, the prayers of Lord Chaitanya, who was giving to humanity the most sublime, the most divine, most understanding through his prayer of Shikshastikam, says he, Krishna, as himself, has invested all of his spiritual potencies in the chanting of his name. So this Sankirtan movement of the chanting of Krishna's names that's being taken out on the street is the highest activity society can itself indulge in. And when it will come to find that that's all God requires of us, that's all he's asking. Take part in this Sankirtan movement and you will go back to Godhead. But yet, no. We will surrender to the demands of society. We will surrender to the boss. We take the job for 30 years and a slave, and then they get us right up to the end of the day that we should be retiring with a career in front of us to do whatever we want, and no, then they cut you off from that job. Worked there for 30 years and then nothing. It's not the promise Krishna gives for bhakti. And you can take bhakti one day a week and provide enough supplies for Krishna to have a sweet on his plate every day of the week. and get credit for having performed bhakti every day of the week by that. Because what goes on the altar, that Krishna glances upon with favor, gives the person who is offering it, the person who prepared it, not to speak of the soul itself, whose body it is. That little rice cake was made from these grains of rice. Every single grain contains a soul. So how much do we think of the grain when we're offering it? Value do we give to that grain? Not much. But what is it to the soul that it is encompassing? This whole body is everything. So that little grain of rice is giving more than we are. It's giving everything. We give hundreds of grains thinking it's just a bowl of rice, right? But see the value we come to realize life itself is by surrendering to Krishna. When we see how much value Krishna puts upon every form of life, making a way for the even smallest bacteria to be able to eventually progress to the state of love of God. And we've been in all those previous forms. And we are evidence here now of the fact that Krishna is giving us, by reading of these literatures, what is being made available by these literatures, pure love for Krishna, pure love for God. And thereby, we being encompassed with that love, then that love can do nothing but want to give it to others. And this is why devotees are out on the street passing out these books. And every contribution they give that people don't even have in their minds, they're giving out of neutrality, like the chair. They don't know what they're giving to. But Srila Prabhupada said if they give a penny, they'll get a human birth next life. Who thinks about giving a penny for a new body? That's the power and the potency. See, being revealed. When Lord Chaitanya himself, being Radha and Krishna in the same body, is saying he's going to put all of his potencies in the chanting of these names, we can be sure, wow, something's going to happen on this planet. And that future which is coming, which it may in fact bring devastation to everything that is established as supremely powerful. You know, the way people look at the system and all the legal systems of the world, they think of it as imperishable. Krishna's brought he and Balaram, when they were on the planet, there were as many kingdoms, if not more, on the planet being ruled by tyrants, many more than there are now. And Krishna and Balaram single-handedly killed them off. This is why he says he comes to destroy the miscreants and then to lift up his devotees, because the miscreants are making it difficult for devotees. That's why. And it is Krishna's purpose in the devotees that he is promoting. So when we get on Krishna's side, then we become protected by Krishna because we're fulfilling his purpose. We're not fulfilling our own purpose anymore. This is what surrender means. Then once you do surrender, you gain the opulence of everything you need to serve Krishna now. Now, with the desire in your heart to serve Krishna, now Krishna, you might say, Srila Prabhupada says, when you serve with love, you move Krishna's heart. You can actually move God by your love. So in effect, you prod God to do something for you when you show him that you love him by taking part in these practices. And then what to speak by promoting the truth of his teachings, because they're so liberating. See, even a young man, as you are, in school, because none of your teachers probably, I say that with qualification because I don't know everybody that's teaching you, but in 99.9% of the schools that are called public schools, The teachers are not self-realized. But you, being born into a Vaishnava family, you're serving Krishna, right? See, born into a Vaishnava family, you're probably considering yourself as a servant of your parents. You're considering yourself a servant. You will develop a profession that will be of service to society, right? You probably have that in your heart, do you? You want to have a service that will be something to benefit others in society, right? No matter what profession you take, that's what professions are set up to do, so that we as people can develop relationships that we will learn how to love. This is what Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu reveals to us, the kinds of experiences we should be having with one another in order to come to the stage of knowing what love is. Because in the spiritual world, that love is the food of the soul. And it is realized simply by association and discussion of the activities of the Absolute Truth, who is the source of everything. And the need the soul has in order to know its purpose, in order to experience happiness, satisfaction, and ultimately love, the highest. Whatever you do want, you want to know what love is, right? You want to know what love is? Love is what? Love is the force that has brought everything into existence. Every experience you have had that's made you happy has been caused by love itself. Your mother and father's love for each other. You are evidence of that. You are proof that they have become one. So, and then today in the mundane science, they will say proof of that is in the DNA, right? Do you know what DNA is? DNA is in every single cell of our body. Krishna says the soul is pervading every cell in the body. So what this is, that modern science is finding out, is that every cell has within it a replica of a history that we will reveal what kind of eyes we have, what color our hair will be, what kind of skin we'll have, how strong our heart will be, how many breaths of life we have. All of this is recorded, but they are at the very primitive stages of understanding the true meanings of what this record is for. And without their knowledge of what the laws of karma are, they may say and come to the conclusion that the universe is all based on mathematical computations, but without the realization of why. Because it's all based on karmic reactions that all living forms of life, souls that have chosen to come into this universe, have chosen by their choice to take on a different form. Reptiles, aquatics, birds, plants, all these animals, all these forms, 8 million species before getting to the stage of human being. And we have been there. So when we see the bird, we've been able to fly before, and the beauty of it. We've been in that state. Now there is an enmity created. You know why there's enmity between man and animals? Is man's own sinful activities. And man is getting the reaction from the animal kingdom because of the outer covering of the universe is made of a karmic force, false ego. And as we all exercise our own false ego, our own will. We are doing that, empowering that force that is controlling the modes of ignorance, passion, and goodness. And so by abiding in either of those forces, we get the reactions caused by the energy of that external force that will push us even into our next lives if we don't become free from it. And becoming free is the simple act of immersing the mind in the spiritual sound vibration of Krishna's names. Constantly reading and studying and immersing ourselves in the relationship with Krishna and understanding who he is and what he's giving us through these teachings. And in that way, our lives then will become more and more complete. The experience of satisfaction we will be getting from the purpose of our lives, no matter what profession that finds us in now, as much as possible as we can develop relationships with the professions we are in, with those we are in immediate contact with, we can raise their consciousness also to let them see the significance of every form of life. We don't even want to swat mosquitoes, but Srila Prabhupada says once he comes and tells you he's going to do that in your ear, then you have the right to protect yourself. So there's usually a warning. But you know too, in these mishaps that people are calling accidents, if they had the vision to be able to realize the acts of karma, then that would cause them to look towards Krishna and say, Krishna, what mistake have I made that has caused this to come upon me? But no, they will go to the insurance company, it's the insurance company's fault, the other guy's fault, this guy's fault, the wind caused it to rain, all these things. But when we have the attitude, this is incorporated in the prayers of Lord Chaitanya, more tolerant than a tree, more humble than a blade of grass. You can walk on the grass, right? No objections whatsoever. And it takes a position of neutrality to serve us. Similarly, the tree is in a position of neutrality and provides shade, and in many cases provides fruits. And if those fruits can be offered to Krishna, that tree can go from providing fruits for animals and other human beings that have no connection to Krishna. Now it goes to the benefit it will get from its fruits being offered to the Supreme and being transformed themselves. The fruits, every fruit has a seed in it. Every seed contains a soul. And like we were reading the other day in the yesterday in the Ekadasi book, when you take part in these activities, Krishna is going out of his way to want to give you benefit above and beyond that what you can imagine in your mind. So we were talking about yesterday, just keeping the Ekadasi from yesterday can benefit 10 generations. Your mother, her father, his father, their father, 10 times back. Your mother, your father, your mother, your father, 10 times back. And Krishna is making this arrangement because by every little step a devotee wants to make towards Krishna, Krishna is going to reward them so far beyond their imaginations. We can't, with these mortal minds, actually conceive of what eternity is. And yet that's the very nature of our being. It's the very substance we are as souls. And knowing this gives us far superior knowledge than that even being promoted by the most prestigious universities in the world. Because without this self-realization, their medicine is invalid. And evidence of that is they're not curing people. They're making addicts. By the medicine, they're being controlled by pharmaceutical companies on how telling the doctors how to administer medicine. But just as Srila Prabhupada was a pharmacist, it wasn't the pharmacists who were the teachers of medicine. And in the original place, Krishna was the speaker of Ayurveda. And Dhanvantar, even his name brings healing to the body, to the soul. So all these purposes Krishna had in manifesting all these different forms, each of them taking a different position for the benefit of humanity to come. And in that form he gave Ayurveda for the healing of the nations. Bible quote even says, the leaves are for the healing of the nations. He says, you know that quote from the Old Testament? I have to look it up. It's something like the leaves are, the green of the leaves for the healing of the nations. I'll look that up. But see, in all sacred writings, it is recognized that God is the healer. And so when we first surrender to Krishna, we look at everything towards him to benefit us physically. But when we find out what we need to know spiritually, then our eyes are open. Because it is the lack of spiritual vision which Krishna consciousness gives and is, that enables us to see life as it is and to see Krishna as he is, as Srila Prabhupada likes to call the Bhagavad Gita, as it is. Right? Very way it is. Not by our concocted minds, but by knowing personally, because he is himself giving full knowledge of who he is and what nature he is and how to find him and how to become as close to him as you can be. I'm going to have to end there. Time is running over. So, any comments, any questions, any realization? Are you finding in your life that Krishna is revealing himself as your friend? At least, yeah. Because God is our greatest friend. And I'm seeing beyond that. Just think about it. We see Srimati Radharani and Krishna as the purest lovers there are. And they, in that form, take this most merciful form of Lord Chaitanya, who God himself, not revealing such mercy, reveals mercy through Lord Chaitanya as Radha and Krishna combined. Look at us. What does Krishna do to us? We are soul and Krishna combined. He's giving us the same dealing with himself as he is having with Radha and Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya. And it is explained in Chaitanya, I believe it's Chaitanya Bhagavatam, that the soul that does become pure, Radha and Krishna will come and dwell in them. Then he will share their love with them. So see, we have a lot to look forward to. We have a future that goes beyond this life as well. To take all these acts that Krishna is giving to what normally would have been considered ordinary souls, gives them the ability now to develop pure love and overcome every obstacle in life and have the greatest experience this human form has to offer, which I see as love. If someone has a suggestion of something greater than a force, pure love, I'd like to know what it is. That's what I came here for. I saw the love, presentation of God having an eternally youthful form, enjoying with young boys and girls his own age, eternally with them. It's just so beautiful. Christianity presents a vision of God as a judge sitting on a throne. Well, we have that form of Krishna also. But we distinguish between the realms of this universe and the eternal realm of Vaikuntha. And this is confidential knowledge. Other paths don't even have this knowledge. And even those that are on these other paths that take professions that would lead them to greater understandings, draw conclusions based on their own speculations. They're looking for other universes inside of this universe and don't know. This universe has a covering, as does every universe. And so you get from Krishna superior knowledge to anything being presented in the world, and that by relationship with Supersoul, which doesn't cost you any more than the time it takes for your mind, while you're chanting, to request to Krishna to give you the knowledge you need to continue your ability to expound on his teachings. And God is more than willing. As this song we sing every morning says, he fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. So when you ask Krishna in your heart for the things you need to know, you will find with that pure desire you have for knowledge, Krishna will fill your heart above and beyond your beliefs possible. We're very fortunate, we're the very most fortunate souls. We have to take it for what it's worth and realize what opportunity we're being given from Krishna himself. Are there any comments, any questions, any realizations anybody would like to share? Jai. Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Jai. Thank you very much.